Welcome to the Audacity, the podcast by women, for women, and anyone brave enough, willing to listen. We welcome you all. And please make sure that you follow us on all social media platforms. I'm pretty sure we're on like all of them officially at this point. I don't think we're on Facebook. I don't know that we ever will be.
Probably not, no.
Probably not. But Instagram, TikTok, all podcast platforms, and Patreon, you can find us there. And speaking of Patreon, make sure that you join. We have lots of perks available for everyone, but we do have a couple of extra perks available to our VIPs only, including these shout outs that we do on air for our brand new Tea VIP members like Zilfazaf. Let's give a warm studio welcome. Welcome. Love the username. Don't know what it means, but it was very fun to say. So thank you for that. And please make sure you get in there, y'all. We have blogs, we have polls, we have videos up there for the VIPs. So be sure that you check it out at least. Oh, we're also on YouTube. So make sure if you're not watching this on YouTube, we do have the video version of this podcast also now available on YouTube. We post shorts there as well. All right. And without further ado, today we are going to be talking about men's mental health, but probably not in the way you think. So hang tight. And before we do that, let's have some tea. I actually have some. Well, there's a lot. It's been a lot going on, ladies. But I think my favorite piece of tea from the past couple of weeks that I don't think we've mentioned yet is the falling birth rate. Mm-hmm. Sovereign was just talking about this off air. So they just did a survey of a nationally representative group of like over 40,000 women aged 15 to 44 about a broad range of fertility related indicators. Findings showed that there was little change during that time in the proportion of women who said they intended to have children. So on average, 62% of women said they intended to have a child and 35% did not intend to, with only a small percentage saying they didn't know. But up to 50% of the women who intended to have children said they were only somewhat sure or not at all sure that they would actually realize their intention to have a child. Women who had higher levels of income and education were slightly more likely to say that they were very sure they would have a child than those with less education and income. But even those with a bachelor's degree who said they were very sure they will have more children declined from 65% in 2014 to 54% in 2018. They also figured out that the intensity of desire has definitely dropped, and that up to 25% of childless women who intended to have children also said they would not be bothered if they ended up not having a child, which is what I love. I mean, I really think that speaks to the whole decentering movement, like decentering marriage, men, children, all of these things has been really, really paying off. So well done, ladies. Like, good job, everybody. A round of freaking applause. Like, I just love this because I think it speaks to women realizing that a lot of this is like a fairy tale and like a happily ever after, but nobody really gives a shit about you once you have the child. Like, they're just happy that there's going to be another cog in the machine somewhere, you know, working for Jeff Bezos or whatever. Like, he's happy to have another truck driver, you know what I mean? But other than that, nobody really cares. Like,
and then they'll blame you for needing help.
Yeah. I think it's, you know, like the financial aspect of it was also pretty clear that a lot of women were like, with what money? Like, I want to have a kid, but with what money? Like,
just one stroll down the baby aisle is enough birth control for me to like last a lifetime, because how is anybody affording this? And also they keep, you know, baby formula locked up in Target and like other stores, even Walmart. They'll lock up the powder baby formula and like the little baby food jars and some
because
diapers.
They care more about money than children being able to eat.
And who wants to, you know, be treated like a criminal for like trying to buy supplies for their baby? Like,
apparently a lot of people are just coming the way they were coming in and just stealing that stuff. And so the thing with Walmart is whenever you see something locked up behind like the glass cabinets, those are the most stolen items or the most stolen merchandise. So the thing that they lose the most money on because people come in there and steal, they lock it behind, because they don't have everything locked behind glass, but they just have certain stuff. and the baby formula and diapers.
They should be ashamed of themselves for locking that stuff up. I'm sorry. Like, I just don't care.
They
like,
should.
Lobby the government. Be like, listen, people need assistance. They're stealing from our stores. You know what I mean? Instead, you just lock it up. And then you're like, no, but women should have more children because Walmart's going to need employees. Like, man, fuck you. Give out that formula for free.
From a business standpoint, I get why they're locking it up. If they didn't lock it up, they would get zero profit.
Their profits are already off the charts.
No, I agree.
And some of that is insured. So even if, like they have, insurance packages for theft. So if a certain amount gets, stolen, they get reimbursed for that through their insurance. Most businesses and most corporations especially have that bit of, reassurance on them. So that way, like, they're not out tens of thousands of dollars.
It's baby formula.
And
like, I just don't want that to be lost on us. Like, that's crazy. Babies need that to survive. Like,
if I saw a woman stealing baby formula or like,
wouldn't say a damn thing.
I'm legally blind.
I probably would help her.
Didn't see.
Actually.
Yeah, right.
You need help.
Right.
You need some help.
Exactly.
Let me distract them while you
That's so terrible.
No, seriously. Let me pretend to have like a heart attack and just.
I was gonna say, let me fake a slip and fall. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What do they even make baby formula out of? I always wondered that. Like, what is it?
It's certain minerals and certain bits of kind of like a grain that's like pressed to a fine powder, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think about.
It's basically like nutrition dense. Like it's because breast milk is very dense, like nutrition wise, and so you can't just give babies like cow's milk or something. It doesn't have the nutrients that they need, and so formula is supposed to kind of make up for that. And it's like, as long as your baby's eating, it is what it is. But are you wondering if there's any way to just make it yourself at home?
Yeah, I wonder
I mean, if you're resorting to stealing it, probably not. You probably wouldn't be able to afford, the ingredients separately. Yeah.
Unless there's a way we're not thinking of, put it in the chats below on YouTube if you're, commenting.
Yeah, if there is a way, but yeah.
And also, like, breastfeeding hurts. Like, that looks like that shit hurts. Like, clogged ducts. Oh, my God. Oh. Some people have to go to like hospitals for that because they can't unclog it.
I know a lot of women have the leaky.
Because some of these women, they only get 4 weeks off for maternity leave, and that's definitely not enough, time. And also, they don't provide women facilities to be able to pump their own breast milk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you have to like pump in a closet. I remember when I was like 18 and one of my coworkers at the time was having a baby. And when she had the baby and she came back to work, she would have to go pump in the supply closet at the community college. Like,
abysmal.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Although that's changing nowadays. In some schools, like my school, it offers facilities for expecting mothers or mothers who are, breastfeeding. So they have like these little private rooms and they're like air conditioned and like you have space and you have privacy curtains and things like that. And it's woman ran and it's student led. And so I'm glad that that's available to us. And it's just because my school doesn't have a sports department. So all that money gets reinvested back into the student.
Yeah.
It's great.
Look at that.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah, when I was in nursing school, there was this one girl, and shout out to you, D. I ain't gonna say her name. But she had a baby, and literally 2 days later, she was right back in clinical. Title IX or whatever it was, I didn't know much about Title IX until her in nursing school. It's like basically women have the right to breastfeed. We were in the hospitals doing clinical, so they had to find places for her to go like pump or stuff like that. So I was like, oh my God, that is a lot to deal with. But shout out to her because when I tell you that woman was so strong and resilient, she had a baby and was back in class the next day.
Shout out to mothers everywhere.
No, it's crazy. And that should not be the standard. That should not be the expectation. That's just absolutely wild. Because I also screenshotted a comment on this article that I was reading from. And somebody said, I always find it interesting that the actual physical experience of gestating and birthing a child is never a part of the birth rate conversation. I'm pregnant with a very wanted child, and even with a loving husband and financial security, it is a torture I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. And I haven't even gotten to the stage yet where I'm supposed to be happy about being mildly crippled by birth injuries. My own mother had 3 perfect births and was still having yearly surgeries to correct spinal and urological injuries more than a decade after she finished having children. Do the people decrying childless women think growing another person is easy? Or do they just think that it's something women owe to society by nature of being born female?
Both.
Yep.
Like
all of the above.
And you know what? When I was younger, I used to think, because I always felt like having kids was just this terrible thing. But then there was a part of me, because growing up in religion, it's like, okay, well, but I guess God made it to where if women can have babies, if we can literally go through this process, then that must be what it's for. That must be, you know what I mean? And so as a child, I remember thinking, I still don't want to do it, but it's got to be something to it if everybody is constantly doing it. And, they complain. They complain, but then they'll turn around and have a fourth or a fifth child. So I was thinking maybe there's just something to this that I'm not paying attention to. So with me thinking that as a child, there are grown people, because I damn sure don't think that no more. There are grown people who really believe, you have a uterus. This is your life's purpose. You're supposed to have a baby. All the so-called pregnancy pains and suffering and the contractions. Y'all just be over-exaggerating. It's not that big of a deal. Like, people really do believe that. They really believe it, especially men.
I guess they better figure it out then.
If they can't feel it themselves, and it's not happening.
I guess you're not feeling anything. Figure out how to pop out them babies.
Or they know it happens. They just think that it's all part of the process, and you're supposed to be unhappy. You're supposed to be uncomfortable. You're supposed to be in pain, and there's not anything that they can do about it. Even though that's mostly disproven, because there are very involved and loving fathers,
of course,
and that they sit up with the mother while she's breastfeeding, or if the child wakes up in the middle of the night, he wakes up too, and holds her hand essentially through the process. Nelly. So they're waking up together instead of, I have to work, so it's up to you to take care of the baby.
Nelly doesn't get up in the middle of the night.
No.
Nelly told Ashanti he's not getting up in the middle.
Wait, Nelly, yeah, no.
The man, the rapper.
No.
Yeah, I love when men say that, I have to work, so I can't get up with the baby, as if what the mother is doing with the baby all day is rest.
That's her duty. Her duty is
That's
to be,
what I'm saying. But it's okay, well, it's your duty to work. So we're both working though. So we both should be waking up in the middle of the night. And if you don't wake up, I will make sure you wake up.
He said it's a blessing that he can sleep through his baby screaming in the middle of the night. And the funniest part about
I'd be sleeping with a frying pan next to the bed. If you're a Slavic woman, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A frying pan with my skоворodka. And I would just pick that shit up and use it to wake him up. However,
wait, is that the name? Wait, say the name again.
Skоворodka.
That's what skillet is, or frying pan? Oh my God. Wait.
Yes, and it's a very common
on that one.
It's a very common joke trope in Russian or Slavic TV sitcoms, where the husband comes home from work, or he comes home drunk or something, and the wife is waiting up for him with a frying pan. And the whole joke is she's going to kick your ass with that fry. And she just starts beating him over the head with it.
As that's she should,
our joke.
Skerotov. Did I say that right?
You're close. You're close.
Oh my God, I just learned something new.
That's why when I think about passport bros, they hardly ever, hear about them going to, Eastern Europe. They usually go to Southeast Asia or South Asia. They would, because they know Eastern European women, they don't play. They go
to Colombia and Brazil.
Yeah, and also South America and Central America, those places. It's disgusting. I think we should have an episode about that, actually, passport bros, because, there's a lot we can talk about.
I know, we have definitely... We've definitely considered
I think it's on the list.
That kind of, it slightly ties into the male loneliness epidemic a little bit, just because they go over there,
rather run away from,
and they don't
issues.
get what they thought they were going to get, and so now they're even more confused and lonely and angry.
It's so true. Yeah.
It's so funny to me.
Yeah, but now they're getting better at this, because now it's more organized, because they have Discord servers dedicated to this, and they have Reddit threads,
so gross,
subreddits dedicated to the passport bro scheme,
just to go take advantage of disadvantaged women and little girls.
Oh yeah,
that's literally they're doing all of that just so the sex tourism. It is just so disgusting.
But what they're finding out is that a lot of these countries have since developed since the 2000s. So all of these places that they thought that they could go to, a lot of those women have raised their standards and have had a lot more autonomy and a lot more rights, I guess. And so when they get to these countries and after having this outdated advice, they get shook. And it's so funny reading those comments, especially for Vietnam. These men used to go to Vietnam, and they still kind of do. Some of these rural areas are still, hit or miss. But the places that they would frequent in Vietnam are now no longer the same as they were in the 90s or even 80s. 50s, because like all of that has since had upward mobility, and and women are participating more in that workforce over there, as far as I know. So they're more likely to say no and just be like, ew, what the fuck is this old man doing talking to me? Like, and I'm happy for them. I'm happy for my Southeast Asian sisters down there who are growing in that aspect of, you know, gaining autonomy and rights and the ability to say no and have less pressure on you.
We will always rise up, ladies. We really, really will.
And they won't. That just goes to show you how much they don't evolve. Like you couldn't even keep up with the changes.
That's what I'm saying. They can only win when women are so disadvantaged. That is the only time that they can actually, and what they're doing is preying on these women. And they know this. They know this because they're like, oh, well, these Western women have high standards. Yeah. So you can't prey on them as easily.
Absolutely.
You can't, you know, manipulate them with money or withholding resources or whatever.
Which is the patriarchy, the male loneliness epidemic. They're becoming increasingly more lonely because women have rights. We have our somewhat power back to some degree. We can work and take care of ourselves. And the only way they were able to thrive and be on quote unquote top this whole time was because we were disadvantaged. Our rights were taken away. We couldn't own anything. We couldn't do anything.
Yep.
And so they're seeing now, it's the same thing over there. Those women, especially with social media, and they're able to get online and see like the way other women are living in other places. They didn't have all of that before. None of us had all of that before, where we were able to see what was actually happening in other places. So women become empowered when you can see other women.
When we're allowed to speak. Yes, I think that's what's contributing to the childless epidemic as well. And I love the connections you're making to the male loneliness epidemic here. And before we jump into that, I know I spoke earlier about some of our VIP perks that we have available. And today y'all get to actually witness one of them because we have tea from one of our tea VIPs. One of our tea VIPs has brought some tea to the table today. So let's see what it's all about.
I know the true crime community gets a lot of shit, some of it well-deserved, but I would really like your perspective. I have learned more about the male psyche and how they treat women from watching true crime, whether it's in the form of podcasts, books, television shows, documentaries, whatever. I've also learned about how incompetent the police are and how much they fuck up and how women can't even trust the justice system to prosecute these men. Men love to talk about how women don't take accountability. 100 women versus accountability. But you have men who will annihilate their whole families and then take their own life just because they want to win. Whether it's they don't want to get divorced or they don't want her to take the children, however they view it in their mind. That is truly the most ultimate form of refusing to take accountability. They would rather die than be held accountable in the court of law and public opinion. Which is why I think maybe women are drawn to true crime, because even if the justice system has failed, the simple act of circulating the story is a way to hold these men accountable and society accountable for failing women.
Oh my God, that's
a very good point.
I think women more often than not, they listen to true crime stories like this to, I guess, in some way learn from it and, you know, learn what not to do and learn, you know, what may have worked and maybe what didn't work. And so in order to have more...
God, it's like a survival
methods.
thing.
Yeah, it's a survival thing. It's these are, you know, unlocking new methods of protection for us and be like, see, she did this, and this. So if I don't do that, then I'll have a different outcome, even though it's hit or miss with some of these.
I've never made that connection before.
See, that's accountability.
But that is so true.
That's accountability that we don't deserve. Like, why the fuck is it our accountability? I cannot believe we have to share a planet with these troglodytes. Like, this is crazy. This is degenerate behavior. Before I say that, is that like a slur of some kind?
No, it's not.
It's a Paleolithic.
Yeah, they're outdated. They don't want to.
It's just like, you didn't evolve. Okay, yeah, that's basically exactly what I meant to say. You're fucking stuck in the goddamn evolution cycle. Yeah.
It would be like a monkey, homunculus or something, and then troglodyte, and then human, and then just go up from there. And troglodyte is like one of the ones in between.
It's very fun.
But
it's hilarious.
But yeah, and it means like knuckle dragger, because like I think in the picture they were dragging their knuckles. So it's in between like I think a monkey and caveman.
It's literally how I think of most men.
The first time I ever heard that word was watching Desperate Housewives, and Bree Vandekamp said she's such a troglodyte, and I was like, what the hell is that?
Oh my God, not about a woman.
Yeah, I think she was talking about I'm pretty sure it was a woman. Somebody at a party or something. I can't remember, but I just remember thinking,
Bree is so
what?
funny.
I was like, what is that word?
She's
oh my
like
God.
quickly
it was so
becoming
funny.
one of my favorite characters. We'll have to have a debrief about that.
I know. She evolved a lot. Yeah.
Yes. I love that our TVIP, that we keep them anonymous for safety reasons, but I love that she's bringing up that some women kind of rightfully have like an aversion to this stuff, or like some people are like, why are women so weird about like true crime? They love true crime. And it's like, not only is it kind of like valid, you know, obviously, like Gwen said, some women are just using it to be like, well, what can I do if that situation happens to me? Which is horrifying. Like that, we need to stop and think about that.
Yes,
like there should be
Yeah.
like a minute long pause in the podcast after this, so that everybody can just sit there with this fact and like really think about it. Sit there alone with that and be like, women are using true crime podcasts as like safety tips, and we're all just letting that. We're all just like, we're okay with that as a society.
That's so
I don't know
deep.
if anybody's been watching like the Trainwreck series too on Netflix, and they have like all these different train wrecks, basically of like events that got like blown out of proportion, or like stuff went horribly wrong. There's one about the poop cruise. I don't know if people remember that.
Yeah.
They have like a deep dive on that.
Yeah.
And I think other than that one, which was probably still a man's fault, they are literally, all of these train wrecks are caused by men. Like it's men leading society off a cliff. Like it's men committing these true crimes, right? And I heard somebody talking about it, and they said that women are just not arrogant enough to think that they can get away with it. Like men commit these things because they're so delusional to the point of committing a crime and being like, no, I'll probably get away with it. I'm so smart.
And then when you see the steps that they've taken to try to cover it up, and they still get caught, it's like you're still an idiot at the end of the day.
Like that Brian Laundrie guy, like, okay, like you ran back to like your mom helped you hide or whatever. Like,
that's awful.
It's crazy. It's
boy
absolutely crazy.
Was she a boy mom?
Yeah, clearly.
Yeah, but yeah, all this is just when I listen to some of these true crime stories, a lot of it is when the parents help. A lot of it, I think, it's the boy mom syndrome thing. Like it's just
disgusting.
It's so heart wrenching because gosh, like that girl was still your daughter-in-law in some cases, and you still it still just wasn't enough.
No, not my son. At the end of the day, it's always going to be not my son. At the end of the day,
always,
it doesn't matter. If you are dealing with a mama's boy and a boy mom, you are nothing. When she has to choose between him and you, she's always going to choose her son, no matter what.
This is why we talk about the patriarchy, because all of these things wouldn't be possible, right? The incompetence of the police wouldn't be possible. You know, like, again, with the Brian Laundrie, Gabby Petito example, when she called the cops to report DV, the cops accused her of it because her abuser was calm and she was the one that was freaking the fuck out, and like trying to tell them. And they were like, yeah, it seems like you're abusing him actually, because he was able to.
Crazy. And she looks like a toothpick.
And then she died at his hands. Like,
the incompetent police officers that have that attitude, they beat their wives. So that's the reason why they don't see a problem with it. They'll sit there and they'll have a straight face. They don't really, they don't have any emotion. They don't really care. They're like, oh, wait, what happened? Oh, okay, well, here's my card. Here, fill this out. And they'll just throw you a pamphlet. Like,
I don't want to deal with the paperwork.
Yeah, because a lot of them beat their wives. A lot of them see themselves in these criminals. Judges, male judges as well. That's why they get lighter sentences. Because they're like, well, what did the woman do? She's beat to a bloody pulp, and their first thought is, well, what did you do?
Like, you seem like a rational guy. You seem like, somebody I could.
He doesn't seem like the type of guy that would do that.
They humanize the abuser.
Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard.
Yeah.
People completely ignored all the evidence against him, like, assaulting her with a wine bottle, which is insane behavior. Talking about how he wants to drown her, talking about her dead body and things like that. And people were like, yeah, she's the abuser because she was mean to him.
And corporations dogpiled on this too. Like, it was something I've never seen before. But like, corporations on Twitter were going out of their way to tweet, misogynistic things and taking Johnny Depp's side. Like, this was some PR just dogpile on that poor woman. Like literally everybody was out to get poor Amber Heard.
Before she came out, wasn't she's like one of Hollywood's it girls, and she was just so beautiful, and everybody just revered her. That's proof that it doesn't matter who you are or how beautiful you are. You are not going to win at patriarchy. That is proof. 1,000%. Anytime you come out about your story or tell the truth about the abuse you suffered or whatever, they are always going to side with the man.
And that's why so many women
Johnny Depp. Oh, Johnny Depp is this A-list celebrity in Hollywood. There's no way he could ever do that. And Johnny Depp can have any woman he wants. Yeah. And that's how people treat it's always the same. It's always the same. So let that be a lesson, though, unfortunately, for pick-me women who thinks that they're going to win at patriarchy. You're not. You're not.
The final boss of the patriarchy is being a man. Yes.
That's the final boss.
You're never going to beat that final boss. You really never will. And it sucks. That's why we need to crumble the patriarchy rather than just complying with it. Or
do you think the male loneliness epidemic, as it gets worse, because it's going to get worse, do you think that that's going to initially they will try their hardest to make the patriarchy stronger because they're going through an extinction burst? But do you think it has the potential to crumble the patriarchy after there are no women participating? Well, of course, there's going to always be women participating, but when the numbers of women constantly go down and down and down, it's to me, that's what it will take to begin crumbling the patriarchy. It's already started to crumble, but, we still have a long ways to go. A long ways to go. There's a lot of barriers we have to break down.
I think that is a fantastic segue into our main segment. So let's take a little break and we'll come right back and we'll jump right back in where we left off. And we're back. Let's talk about men's mental health. And I just want to, before we get into it at all, I want to make two distinctions here. Number one is that men's mental health is not women's concern. We are already carrying all of the emotional labor, basically, of society. We are already dealing with men's mental health, on an individual level, very much so. We are already expected to care and worry about men's mental health on an individual level with women, and most husbands, most sons, most fathers require a lot of emotional labor on the women's part that are in their life. And so we are not here at all to rest this burden on women whatsoever. Okay. The other thing about men's mental health is that it essentially and ultimately goes back to the model of masculinity that it's men that won't let go of. So when Sovereign was saying earlier that would this male loneliness epidemic / men's mental health crisis, does that really have the power to crumble the patriarchy? Well, there's a litany of answers to that, right? So first of all, not if they force women to share our presence and our bodies and all that emotional labor with men outside of our own consent just to survive. So not if they do that, that will only strengthen the patriarchy. If women are deprived of rights, the more rights that women are deprived of, it forces us to depend on men, which fortifies the patriarchy. So if that happens, then no. I think the only way to crumble the patriarchy is if men stop holding on to this masculinity thing and take charge of their own mental health by letting go of the quote unquote privilege that masculinity gives them. Because the only privilege of that is being able to oppress women by first and foremost oppressing yourself. So let's talk more about that. Let's kind of get into it. I once again just want to emphasize that this is not for women to take this and try and evangelize to men about it. If you have friends you can send this episode to, that would probably be great. Friends that are struggling with mental health or whatever. But I just want to make it very clear, this is not women's job. This is just for us to understand the socialization that leads to this and to actually stay away from men who exhibit signs of men's mental health. Okay. So let's get into it. Sovereign, where were you going with that, whole thing of like kind of crumbling the patriarchy, by sort of like men just being like more lonely and like kind of like going through the effects of this kind of mental health crisis?
So there's a part of me that feels like it almost has to happen. The male loneliness epidemic has to happen if we as a society if we're gonna move forward in a positive way, if things are to get better, because they are the troglodyte thing. They are so they're like not evolving.
No, seriously.
They're so stuck in this mindset, the patriarchal mindset, which is the social conditioning. You're not supposed to be vulnerable. Believing that women are not seeing women as human, and they have these roles that they have to do, not having community with each other besides superficial stuff. Like they don't really have real true friendships. And of course, we're not saying every single man out there don't have real friendship. We're saying as a whole. That's why there's a male loneliness epidemic, because they don't really have true, deep, meaningful friendships. So there's all these different scenarios that has led to their loneliness. And the loneliness has to happen. They have to sit there with themselves and really think like, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to navigate this? For some of them, it may cause them to say, I've been mean to women. I'll leave women alone. I'll go to therapy for a while until I get myself together. Some guys are going to come to the realization and they're going to unalive them or kill themselves. Some men are going to try to build deeper friendships with other men because they're like, well, the patriarchy exists because men invented this, and 90-something% of all the problems that men face is because of men, the laws that other men put in place, the social conditioning of other men. And so
the violence of other men.
Yeah, the violence, all of that. So with each man going through this sort of, what am I going to do? I think I'm the problem. There's so many ways they can go. They're either going to change for the better and treat women better, or they're going to build more community with men. Some of them are just going to come out the closet, because that's a huge problem with the way men treat women, is because, they really wish that they can just come out the closet and be with other men, which there's nothing wrong with that. It's only a problem when you're hiding it and then you're treating women and children bad, or treating people bad in general, because
you want the privilege of masculinity, being a straight man under the patriarchy, and like using your peen to dominate women. Like, ooh, so gross, dude. Like, that's what gives your life meaning. It's the only thing. Like, let's break out of that box, friends. Like, this is so stupid.
I just want to say, like, I only ever see women talk about men's mental health. I hardly never, ever see men or hear of men talking about this with each other, even though it's exactly that.
They don't talk to each other about it.
Unless it's in response to, like, women saying stuff about our mental health, or women saying, hey, we're in danger. What about men?
Yeah. That's the only time that they will. And they use women, the women in your lives, your situationship, your wife, your girlfriend, your baby mama, your mom. Those are the women that you're going to dump your emotional baggage on. So they do talk about mental health, but not with each other. They use it as a form of manipulation with women. Like, I'm fighting 100%. Demons. And what about me and what I'm going through? But then when it comes down to women really wanting to sit with them and have a conversation, like, hey, baby, talk to me. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be vulnerable. No, fuck that. No, and then they shut down. And so then it's like, and this is why I hate to say that I don't care about male mental health. But I've said
nor should you.
I've said this many times before. As a woman,
nor should you. You already care about it in the way that you have to protect yourself, in the way that you have to live your life.
Absolutely.
We have done more than enough. We already carry that burden for men. Like, let alone let us start advocating for them on a grand scale. What the fuck? No, they've never advocated for us. They'll be like, men gave you your rights. No, the fuck you didn't. We fought for them.
You withheld them.
You withheld them in the first place, right?
You never had the right to do that in the first place.
Right. Yes. If you were a normal, non-psychopath,
it wouldn't have ever happened.
Yeah. If you weren't literally in the troglodyte stage of your freaking evolution, where you're like, no, more for me. It's crazy. It's crazy. We literally evolved because of cooperation, and men to this day refuse to cooperate. Women have been dragging men and their knuckles on the fucking ground behind us this whole time, like into forward progress. And I'm tired. I'm tired. And when we leave them behind, that's all we hear. Oh, how could you? What about men? Look at us. We're struggling. We're suffering.
You're a misandrist.
You're committing violent crimes against women. What do you mean? Like, you make sexist jokes about women. You demean us. You belittle us. Like, you catcall us. What about our mental health? What about women? But women never get to ask that, because then we're just complaining. Then we're just bitching. Then, oh, just fix it. Oh, just don't wear that outside. Well, just don't do that. Okay, I'm going to start telling men the same exact thing. Well, you know, maybe if you wouldn't wear those cargo shorts everywhere you go, maybe more people would talk to you. Maybe if you bought a stick of deodorant, maybe more women would talk to you. It's what you're wearing. It's how you dress.
Yes.
It's their little Pornhub hats. Like, I literally see men walking around with Pornhub logo on, like,
that's another
t-shirts or hats or, you know, what have you, or even like maybe even like a Playboy bunny thing. Although that's, I mean, I'm glad women have, like, you know, taken that and repurposed it and like turned it into their own thing where it's all cutesy and whatnot. I think it's different when a woman wears a Playboy thing and when men do it. Because when men do it, it gives me the ick.
Totally agree. Very icky.
Because they'll wear like the hats with like a giant Playboy bunny logo thing. And like girlies, they just wear like a tiny little sticker of it, or like I don't know. You know what I'm?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying, and I agree. I agree with you. That was another thing that I forgot to mention when I was listing all the ways that they contribute to their own loneliness. The porn thing that's probably number one. If it's not number one, it's number two. The social conditioning is probably number one. You know, just you have to be a man. You have to carry yourself this way. And it leads you down this rabbit hole of just death and despair and depression. And it's just, and the porn thing, they already don't see women as human. And then you add porn into it. And it's like, there's no way to go from there. You just really have to.
If you want to talk about mental health, let's talk about the mental health aspect of sitting there watching strangers have depraved like smecks on the internet, like while you haven't seen another human face. You know what I mean? In your vicinity. Yeah, you haven't touched grass in weeks. Like, it's disgusting. Like, wastebasket full of tissues. You know what I mean? Like, what are the mental health effects of that? No, I'm so serious. You're trying to cure your loneliness with your own peen in your own hand, while watching, you know what I mean? Like, not people you don't know, people you will never have met in real life. Not that would make it better, but like people that you don't know. It's like watching through a little window. You know, strangers have sex, and you're doing that for hours and hours. You're just like gooning off. You have like 200 tabs open. Like, you're I'm sorry, but like, what are you doing? How is that good for your mental health? That is the number one detriment to your mental health, if anything, because it's giving your brain an insane amount of, like, it's a drug level of dopamine. It's the same as like taking hard drugs.
And it's never been as accessible as it is today. Because like back in the day,
ask yourself why it's free, gentlemen. Ask yourself.
Right. And like the Gen X lady, she stitched us on TikTok.
Yes,
MJ, we love you,
out.
sis.
Yes,
sis. She made a point earlier that it stuck with me because it made me think about this.
We will link the videos.
Yes. Porn has never been as accessible as it is today. Like it's like maybe one click away. It used to be maybe 2 clicks away, but updated for, you know, current, you know, AI and everything we have thrown at us, I think it's more likely to be 1 click away. And she was saying how, like, back in the day, men had to register their ID with like a video store, and the video people had to like pull back like a curtain, and there'd be like DVDs that
there was
had to
shame
be
involved.
Yes, and there was like a level of shame, and there's also like barriers, these like sort of stopgaps in between accessing porn that we just don't have anymore.
You had to go outside to get porn, and now it's just
think about that. And I just think about what it's doing to entire generations of men, because like this wasn't, I guess, as much of a thing
terrifying
for Gen X men, or maybe it was, but.
Well, imagine you get a phone at like 10, 11 years old, and if the safe search is off and you type in the word woman and you click on Google Images, you're there. Yeah. It's porn.
It's gonna be porn.
Woman, just one word, 1 click. That's it. That's how far away you are.
Which shows how they see women. No, let me ask y'all this. Do y'all think that if the patriarchy did not force men to, you have to perform and you have to be this way and you can't show emotion and you can't be vulnerable, Do you think that if that didn't happen, that they would have turned to porn in with that same intensity? Because I kind of feel like it's a vice that they're using because they don't have any other outlets. So it's like, this is the only thing that makes me feel good. This is the only thing that takes my mind off of things that I'm going through. Because and again, the fault of the patriarchy.
They just use this to like self-regulate almost instead of
that's what I mean.
Yeah, I do. It's like a pacifier to them. It's like a binky, you know. So I do think even without this, socialization culture around men, that they would still be turning to porn. Like, regardless.
No, I think they would. I just don't think it would be at this intensity. I don't think it would be like,
maybe without the intensity, but I still think it would have always existed, and it would have always had this sort of like protection around it with men, where they defend porn like it's like their life depends on it. I don't know,
they do. Because they don't have anything else.
Right. I was gonna say, but why?
Yeah.
There's plenty of men that are evolved, right? They're not in their knuckle dragging stage, and so to them, they're looking up and ahead. They're not looking at the ground, right? The way that you gotta when you're dragging your knuckles. Still, you are upright. Okay, you're looking forward. It would be the same way as like women are not addicted to porn on that grand scale. Right. I know some women are. I know that it's a problem for everybody.
Right.
But it's because those people are using it as a pacifier, but it's because you're not seeing the bigger and better things ahead of you. Like, exactly. I know plenty of men, and you can tell by the way that even like their eyes move, like there's physical signs of like men who are addicted to porn versus ones that are not.
Right.
And it's like the men that are not addicted to porn, they have no problem talking about things. Like they'll be like a real yapper. You know what I mean? Like they can hang with, somebody just talking about regular things rather than like struggling to ask questions or struggling to like, maintain the conversation, like because they're aware that there's other things in the universe Absolutely. That they can dedicate their attention to. And they tend to just be normal people. They don't have that man air around them where they're just like,
right. They're more balanced.
Right? They have like, they can talk to women freely and like joke around with women and like have banter with women without being weird. There was one guy that went on TikTok back when we were having the whole gym outfits discourse and was like, how am I supposed to work out when the freaking bench looks like a Pornhub video or like a casting couch? And it's like, yeah, see, that's how you can tell.
Yeah,
because they cannot distinguish a woman dressed for the gym and sitting on a workout equipment versus a casting couch.
Absolutely.
It's realities blending together. But there are men that are not like that. You know what I mean? Like there's,
for sure.
I grew up around one, like my dad barely knows how to use a phone. So like it's, I can tell you, and it shows, it very much shows. Like he spends his time reading books. I watched my dad immigrate to the US, not really knowing the language, knowing only the basics, and how he would spend his nights after he was done, contributing to the household and like doing laundry and doing dishes and like helping clean up and all of this stuff. He would sit there with a English to Russian dictionary and a notebook, and he would like just flip through the dictionary and find words that he thought he could use in real life. And then he would copy them into the notebook so that it would commit to his memory like easier and better.
I used to do
and
that.
He had stacks of these notebooks. Like that's what some men do instead of watching porn. Do you know what I mean? They learn a new language. Like imagine that. And then another proof of this is like sometimes I'll have lives where I'll put up conversation starters, right? And one of them was talking about men's addiction to porn. Sorry, I'm using TikTok terms.
I know.
Porn.
Me too.
Yeah.
On a live.
And God forbid, when I suggested that men shouldn't watch porn at the rate that they do, there were literally men in the chat being like, but what else will I do?
I was in that live. I remember that.
But what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
What else are we supposed to do? We were horrified.
That's what I'm talking about.
Those are the ones you can tell they don't have anything going on outside.
So I really don't think it would be an all men. I don't think that there's anything, you know what I mean, that we're not socializing. I do think that there would always be like psychopath men that don't, narcissists that don't understand like not using a person as an object, and they're probably the like porn producers and stuff. And it would take a man like that, or men who are socialized like in that direction, to get the snowball as big as it is. Do you know what I mean? Because like I don't know.
For sure.
It's mostly socialization, because you do see men that are not addicted to porn, and they will typically they just don't even have time or space for it.
Exactly.
That's why.
That's exactly it.
Because they're just doing other things. They're not interested in the degradation of women, because they're happy to see women as equals. They're happy to commune with women in that way.
So you think if they were socialized different, then porn wouldn't be as much of a problem?
I really don't think it would be.
I don't know.
It would still exist.
The existence isn't part of the question, but whether or not more of them would be as disconnected from reality and addicted is what I think you're trying to get at. And I do still think that there would still be porn addicts, because even though let's say they're given all these tools to be, good, decent men and are able to see women as human beings, there will still be some who still have that bit of disconnection with women and still lack some sort of cognitive facilities to, I guess, carry forward a conversation or carry themselves a type of way. And so that, negative reinforcement and them continuing to try to interact with women and getting constantly shut down or rejected. I'm not saying it's a woman's fault.
No, I agree.
But that would, pull them backwards into their little, caves.
But in that society, would we have a website like Pornhub?
I do still think we would still have
that.
The narcissists, like you said, those psychopaths that still exist that are able to see women as objects and dehumanize us.
The types of men Gwen is talking about will always exist. But what I'm saying is that percentage would be much lower. It would not, because see, right now, to me, it's 80+%. I don't think it would be that high.
It's 97% of men have.
I tried to be generous.
Porn in the past week.
Yeah. Maybe porn itself would be different. I think porn itself would look different.
Yeah.
I don't think it would be as depraved.
It would be
they
more
would be
soft.
choking, and I think it would just be more softcore. And in that regard, I think they wouldn't see it as much of as an addiction more than an instructions manual, because we still have to contend with the fact that sex education is not taught in the southern United States for much of our history. So
it's because we hate women. The sex education benefits women. It doesn't benefit men. They
don't want you to be educated.
The more women know about sex, the less men can be oh, you can't get pregnant your first time. Oh, if I
just
pull
let me
out
just put
in
the
time,
head in,
let me just put the tip in.
Yeah.
That only benefits women. So if we lived in a society where women were benefited, I think, it's hard for me to imagine the kind
same.
of
It's hard for me to even conceptualize, even a world where that could exist, because for much of our upbringing and, living in the world around us, I don't know. I guess maybe it's a generational thing, but for me, it's so hard for me to picture a world in which women are at the center and we make the rules and the society at large.
But it's been
us.
like that.
I can picture that. It was that way. Patriarchy
is a new thing.
We started out that way as a matriarchy.
It's new.
It's new.
It really is. You can, if you read, so there's a book called The Creation of the Patriarchy by Gerda Lerner. And she's a white woman, right? So just keep that in mind as you're reading the book. The book was written, years ago. So there's some parts of it that are a little weird. But if you really follow it, patriarchy is
it's fairly new as
a concept. It really is.
As religion is fairly in the Western world.
I think they came out
Christian
around the same time.
Patriarchy is slightly newer, but I think patriarchy itself has always been a thing, and I think it just depends on where you're from and your culture.
I don't,
because even within so I'm thinking in the context of, being a part of an East Asian family, that even before we had Christian values sent over to the East, we had what was called Confucianism. And in that regard, women weren't really, seen as I guess, well, I don't want to say they were dehumanized, because they weren't, but they were still seen as weaker and inherently inferior to men. And so you were, pushed to these, domestic roles. And that's always been a thing.
But Gwen, you gotta think about that there was a time when women were worshipped as statues because women were birth givers, where nobody on the planet could ever exist without a woman birthing them. So as there was a time where women were revered. And for whatever reason, I don't know if it happened after they started mass producing men to fight wars or whatever.
No,
I don't know when it was.
Agricultural revolution. So when men when land ownership and surplus food production became central to power and wealth. Mm-hmm. That's why I always say men hoarded resources from women in order to subjugate us.
Yep.
Because that's when it like really started. Before that, when we were hunter-gatherers, women were reproducing far more than men. Like for every one man that would reproduce, like 17 women would reproduce. Like women had the reproductive power. Women had the reproductive like decisions.
Yeah.
And they were not as like subjugated because they could just walk away. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like nobody owned land. Like it was not central to your survival to like stay on a certain piece of land. And I think that that's why like religion came out around the same time, was like to give credence to the patriarchy. Yep. Oh, God gave us this land.
God said you're supposed to do this.
Yes.
God said you're supposed to be subjugate, you're supposed to be submissive, and the man is the head and you're the tail.
And it goes hand in hand with capitalism, which is why you see the like supply and demand with like porn and stuff like that, because they make enough money off the ads that they can place in these things that they don't have to charge people for it, you know, or they can just charge like a premium for the really, you know, porn brain men to the point where they're addicted to it. They can charge them a premium, and that's all it is. But it all goes hand in hand with the hoarding of wealth and land.
I feel like whenever there became more men in certain areas than women, that's when the problems really started. Mm-hmm. Because men are like, oh, well, we can take over our strength. Mm-hmm. You know, we're stronger than women, so therefore we are better than them. We're superior to them. And it's just a snowball. It was a snowball effect to me. It's like everything just snowballed from there being too many men, when back in the day, women would all share the same male with no problem because he had the stronger genes. It's like, okay, and you just pass them on to the next person, and you pass them on to the next person. And this whole monogamy thing, all of this is all made up. None of this is natural. We are the only species that's going against nature. Like literally the only species going against nature, going the opposite of nature.
And monogamy is not necessarily unnatural, but it's natural in those animals where the males provide equitably into the society.
Right.
So by all the markers, we should not be monogamous. Men do not deserve monogamy from women. And yet they have forced it upon us by claiming land and claiming resources. And I just want to say too that like, not to, you know, we're kind of straying from the topic a little bit. I got to put my producer hat on here. I want to know what y'all think about my ultimate theory about men's mental health, because I think it goes back to that model of masculinity where men are expected to be stoic and independent. So there's like, those are the two biggest things. There's other things, but stoic and independent, whereas actual mental health, the success markers of good mental health are neuroplasticity, meaning you are able to learn new things and change the wiring, you know, like the brain pathways. So neuroplasticity, which is the opposite of what? Stoicism. And interdependence, which is the opposite of independence. So like mental health professionals, like people's mental health markers are better when they're in community, real community, not like, oh, we play fantasy football together. Right. But I bet like even there, I bet the mental health markers are better. Like no matter what religion you belong to, that community will have better outcomes, like less depression, all sorts of like health things. And again, that's not to put religion on a pedestal. We don't like, you know, but I'm just saying those are some of the only communities we have, but it does show that it's interdependence that makes people mentally healthy, not independence, right? That's why we say you got to touch grass every once in a while. You got to make friends, like to understand people better, right? And that makes you understand yourself better. So it goes back to your own mental health. And then being able to change your mind when presented with new information, that's better for your mental health.
I agree. And empathy is another big one.
Yeah, interdependent, like it all go. Yeah.
Yeah. Boys get the empathy like essentially beat out of them.
Yes.
And you're not going to be the best human being ever, or not even close to it, with no empathy. And that's another reason why so many things in this world can exist, is because there's a lack of empathy on the parts of the average man. He's like, oh, I was brutally raped. And it's like, what were you wearing? No empathy. You know, what were you wearing? At all. He knocked my eye out of the socket and he broke a rib. Well, what did you do to him? You know, that's the first thing that they're going to ask. Like, you know, no empathy. There's just like no empathy. And I personally don't believe you can be mentally healthy if you have no empathy. And that's another big piece of the puzzle that's going to lead to their loneliness because you can't even relate to people around you. You have no empathy for the people around you. So, of course, you're going to be outcasted at some point, or you're going to feel like an outcast. I mean, in my opinion, rightfully so. I don't want to be in community or sharing a room or sharing anything, sharing an office space or anything with people with no empathy. They're capable of anything. Mm-hmm. So you will be lonely unless you do something about that part of that portion of your mental health. That is a huge part. I think that's one of the most important as far as just being a human in general.
100%.
Men are just operating on just like a really outdated script, like a 1940s, 50s, 60s script of like, if you do the right things, you'll have certain outcomes. And this is probably the first generation where they're realizing that that is simply not the case. And then they go to tell their older counterparts of like, I guess their father figures or even grandparent figures about, you know, the things that they're facing currently. And they're like, well, it worked out for us. So there must be something wrong with you. And so it pushes that bit of isolation for them or like loneliness for them because they internalize that because I think they really do think it has something more to do with them than the fact that they're learning for the first time that that's just not the case where, you know, you do the certain things and you'll get certain outcomes. You go to school, like one of the ones that's told to, you know, Gen Z and millennials that, you know, you go to school, you go to college, you'll get a good job and you'll, you know, be able to push yourself out of poverty. You'll grab yourself by the bootstraps and maybe you'll be middle class or even upper class, depending on what you went to school for, and everything will be fine. We learned, you know, and same thing for men. Men learned, you know, you learn how to be useful, you learn how to have, you know, certain values, and you learn, I guess, to have certain, like, I guess they're taught more, you know, how to be more useful to us. And so they're thinking in terms of like, you know, being a provider or this protector sort of mentality that's blocking them from having these soft people skills. And they're learning for the first time that they actually did need those soft people skills that they were blocked from all along. And they're having this like cognitive dissonance about it because, like I said, like they go to their, you know, trusted advisors, which are like these older male figures that they have in their life. And again, these male figures are just telling them like, I don't know what's wrong with you, man. Like this all worked out for me. Like I had my wife, that's how I had you. And I had these outcomes. So it's just a generational thing. Like I think you just don't want to work anymore. I think you're just lazy. I think you're just not trying hard enough. And so they really are kind of like struggling to grasp that. And so I think that's another reason that, you know, is contributing to this like mental health crisis. And I've talked to some men in my life about that too, where it was like after practice, because I go to Taekwondo and it's kind of a male dominated space. And so I have access to like these men that I can just like talk to and ask questions. One of the ones that I ask them is just like, why do you think there is like a men's, you know, loneliness epidemic or like a mental health crisis thing? And just doing my research for this episode. And that was one of the things that they told me was that like they're learning for the first time that they have this outdated script and it's troubling for them because now they don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do.
They don't know who to listen to.
Right, because it sounds like there was exploitation involved in order to make a man's life happen. Like it sounds like somebody had to be exploited and used and squeezed for every single last drop so that a man could have all the success he felt like he deserved under the patriarchy. It was always happening at someone's expense. It's kind of like when, you know, I don't know if anyone has seen that comic where, you know, the more rights that we get, there's always somebody crying about it, right? People are saying to abolish slavery. People are like, well, that'll drive the prices up, you know? And it's like, well, yeah, because you were exploiting people to make those prices happen. And it's like, maybe things shouldn't be that cheap. Maybe things shouldn't be that affordable or accessible or, you know, whatever. And people struggle with that, you know? Oh, if we raise the minimum wage, then a burger will be more expensive. Well, why was it so cheap in the first place? Because people are not getting paid a living wage. Because when you look at, you know, McDonald's actually was forced to produce, like, how is a worker supposed to survive on their salary that they get paid? And McDonald's put into the income breakdown, income from that person's second job. They were like, now with the income from your second job, on top of this full-time job, that's how you're going to pay for your cell phone bill. Which is ridiculous. Because we ran out of things that our salary will cover for you like a long time ago. The wage that you make working out like McDonald's will cover rent. That's it. Right. Everything else, you need either assistance or a second job. And so it's like, yeah, people are just simply being exploited. And so the rest of us can have access to a very cheap burger. And what's worse is that prices go up anyway. A meal at McDonald's costs $20 now, and people are still not getting paid above minimum wage. And that's how they dupe you, is the patriarchy. Like, the patriarchy is the basis of exploitation.
For the first time ever, a pound of beef, or maybe it's like an ounce, but it costs more than 1 hour minimum wage, federal minimum wage, $7.25 an hour.
That is all.
So
it's like you're just not supposed to eat.
Just
don't eat.
About this.
Just eat the dirt off the ground. Like, just lick the pavement for your nutrition.
Eat your peasant gruel in your tiny homes and be happy.
Yeah. We don't even have
communes.
Like, the communes, you know what I mean? It's going to be tent cities all over again. What were they called under Hoovervilles or whatever?
Hoovervilles, yeah.
Yeah.
I still think that we'll be better off going back to the barter system. I'm always gonna.
Oh yeah.
I'm always going to be on the side of the barter system.
I have to disagree.
Women will thrive in that. And I will tell you that is what's going to happen. Well, so I grew up in a country that was like post-war and like there was no economy. And let me tell you, the barter system works. My mom used to have her friend make my school uniform, you know, because my mom would help her out with other things or like, and it works among women. And that's why men hate it. Men hate the bartering system because it fucks up their whole like global economy and their whole like, you know, exploitation system, because it's a non-exploitative system. It's like you give what you can and other people give what they can. Like, that's how everything worked when I was growing up. It's like, oh, hey, I have to work late today. Will you watch my kid? Will you feed my kid after school? And it's like, yes, because I know one of these days I'm going to be unavailable in the afternoon. So you're going to have to watch my kid and feed my kid. It all shakes out, you know, when it comes to women. Yeah. And the only people that were not participating in the system and had, you know, the cold, hard reality, economic reality, was men. And in even then, like, men would still be able to benefit from the benefits of women bartering, because like their wife would have, you know, free access to like babysitting services from other women, like taking the kids to the doctor with other women's help, even though we only had public transportation, you know, like my mom always made it work. Women always make the barter system work.
Yeah, it would only work in local systems.
Yes.
It wouldn't work.
It would ruin America. Don't get me wrong. It would ruin America as we know it.
This is like, you know, a post-apocalyptic situation.
But it would create a new kind of system.
But the reason why bartering isn't a thing now is because we needed something, like we needed currency, because the one of the functions of currency is to be able to establish a system of value. So that way, you know, things would be less arbitrary, because it was hard to place, you know, a value on something where it was like, I guess, a car. And let's say you're a dentist, it's hard to say like this car amounts to however many teeth you could pull, or like, you know, what systems you could perform. And so currency acted as like a medium of exchange, to where it's like a car is now worth like this many shiny rocks, or a car is worth, you know what I'm saying? Or like, not a car, but like maybe like something else of value of like,
I know what you mean.
I don't know, you would need, you know, a childcare, like, okay, well, it would be this many shiny rocks instead of just like a certain thing you could offer. Because like, you know, what are they going to do with like somebody who can pull teeth, or whatever your chosen skill was? Like, what if they didn't have something that needed mending? Like if you were somebody who could only do sewing, and if they didn't have anything to sew, like, well, then I guess you were SOL. So medium of currency worked to, I guess, not necessarily end the bartering system, but
No. This is a great point. Yeah. Like I totally see where you're coming from. I'm just saying, like, we are so used to having access to things with money that we have lost the social safety net aspect of it. And it benefits our overlords that we have lost that, because now we have to pay for everything because we have no community, right? That's why like childcare is not free, because they know people have to pay for it. If it was, you know what I mean? If it was like the kind of thing where, and I'm not talking about exploiting like your older relatives or anything like that, but where we like used community for community's sake, and we were forced, I don't know,
you had
live
a village.
Based on, you had a village, but you were also forced to like live in like conditions that support that, right? You would have a lot less need to outsource certain things that have now become outsourced and have made, you know, like I said, childcare women have been priced out of it, basically. You know what I mean?
Which is done on purpose, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But then they want us to have kids.
That's what I'm saying. There's no reason for childcare to be that expensive.
No.
It's just to me, it's another ploy to put women back in the house depending on men. Because that's the one thing that all the moms complain about as to why they choose to stay home because they're only working just to pay for childcare. And I'm like, well, how come your husband, the so-called provider, isn't like helping you do that? Like, why is that solely on you?
Why do you consider it your, I
know. Why are you even considering having to pay for it? Like,
and that's what I'm saying. What about women? You know what I mean? Men's mental health this, men's mental health that. This is how men treat us, right? You pop out, carry the baby, pop out the baby. Wait, I'm going to do the fun part, right? Yes. I'm going to first hang you from a chandelier or whatever, right? Put some porn on in the background. We're going to do something you don't enjoy, whatever. Now, boom, I had fun. Now you're pregnant. You're throwing up. You can't get out of bed. You know, all this stuff. I'm still making you go 50-50 because I'm a liberal, progressive man. Like, fuck you. Fuck you. I'm so done. Like, no, you don't care about anybody else's mental health. Like, you will look at a fully pregnant woman and be like, yeah, I don't know. What do you want me to do? Like, go get you a snack? Like, no, you should be able to do that yourself. Aren't you like an independent woman? Like, we'll throw everything back in our face. Oh, you don't want to go to work even though you're pregnant? Well, I don't know. I thought women wanted equal rights.
I was just watching a podcast or something today. It was a guy, I guess somebody wrote in, it was some woman was saying that she wasn't supposed to get an epidural and she ended up getting one anyway because she couldn't take it. And the bill came back and the husband said, that's not even my responsibility. You're the one who needed to get the epidural, so you got to pay for it. These are the types of men that y'all are having babies with. And it's just like, why are y'all still, I am always going to be team let the birth rate plummet to hell. Shout out to Bourbon Bougie.
Same.
Because what the fuck? Like, y'all are having babies with men who are like, well, that ain't my responsibility.
Shout out to the 4Bs.
She probably wasn't going to make it. She's probably going to pass out from pain if she didn't get the epidural. A baby, I'm pretty sure you begged for.
Yes.
And like, really? That's who y'all have a baby with?
Men will be actively cruel and then be like, what about our mental health?
Yeah.
You know what I'd love to see? I'd love to see how men's mental health would get if we actually had equality across the board. Because women say they want equality, but they refuse to commit 90% of all violent crime.
Oh my God.
They refuse to, heckle men.
Yes.
They refuse to, come out and jump men in a dark alley.
They refuse to sow seeds of doubt in these men regarding their own safety, where it's like, you're a strange man inviting a strange woman back to your place. Like, aren't you a little nervous? Like, don't you think I'm going to,
rob you or something?
Yeah,
or
rob
drug
you. Yeah.
I would love to see the kind of mental health issues that men would have if they were actually treated like the way that we're treated in everyday life. Because my mental health is hanging by a fucking thread every day. And then it's like, well, what about men?
We all know about our own mental health crisis thing, but like the fact that, it's only for men's mental health crisis, and not a mental health crisis just in general, including women. That's how you know it's a very male-centered society. It's a very patriarchal world that we're living in.
There will never be an article about a female loneliness epidemic unless it was to be condescending. Like it will be, see, this is what happens when women standards are too high. You're just going to end up alone with and die alone with cats.
It would never be telling men to lower their standards.
Never.
I will say that the male suicide rate, that is a real thing. The one that I wanted to show y'all was one that like varies by age range. So it actually spikes higher in men age 72.
Oh yeah. I bet Ryan can put that graphic up on the screen for us.
But in women it lowers. So like actually it sloughs off. So like it slopes downward, meaning like less women at that age are committing suicide because and I can't help but think about this one TikTok I saw of a woman who works in elderly care or like a home, a facility for older people, and she says like women always get visitors and men
they don't.
They don't.
That's
it's a very lonely experience for them.
That's very true.
And so I think about that coupled with the age, and it not correlation and causation to get into that conversation, but I do think about the fact that like maybe it's just a consequence of how you were in life. If you were selfish.
100% it is.
Oh, for sure.
Shira 7 has a great bit about that because she's like, I bet y'all didn't know I used to be a mortician.
Yeah.
And it is men that die alone in their apartment in their tighty-whities surrounded by cans of soup. It's not women.
And people don't always find them for a long time. And it goes to show you how much. Remember when someone else came out with the stats on the amount of unclaimed bodies that's in the morgue? It's usually men.
Ouch.
That they'll be in the morgue for weeks, months, and nobody comes to even like claim their body because Yeah, I think it's many times it's their karma. Even me working in...
It's just a consequence, all of this.
Me working in healthcare taught me that. Women always had... Those older ladies always had somebody coming, even if it was one person, even if it was a whole bunch of people, even if it was women with no children. They had the most visitors because when you don't have children, a lot of times you end up cultivating all these friendships and you have all of these neighbors and you got people. So even whether the women had kids or not, they had the most visitors coming to see them, unless you were just an awful person. A lot of times, if you were just an awful person, your kids would just put you there and like they wouldn't have to deal with you anymore, man or woman.
People like that.
But the men would just be sitting there and they was always ornery and angry all the time. And it's like, I was like, you know, sometimes there was some of them and I'm like, he's a nice old man. But then you have to think about it. Like, was he always nice? Was he an asshole? He got 6 kids. None of them come to visit. There is a reason. There is a reason your kids don't come visit you at nursing home, especially when you are a man. But, or a woman too. Because especially when you have kids thinking that there's some kind of a life insurance policy. But I think the thing with men overall is that they never anticipated not being on top. So they stopped growing mentally and spiritually. To me, they stop evolving, and because it's like
maturing after like 18.
Yes, and I feel like they don't realize that the thing that they're doing is going to bite them in the ass eventually. Because an old man is the closest that most men will ever come to feeling like a woman. You know what I mean? You feel weaker. You feel like everything, like nobody really cares about you. Like everything is just on you because you're no longer useful. Yeah. Yes, you're no longer useful. You no longer have a job. You're no longer like contributing, right? And so people are like, well, you were only ever good for your material. You know what I mean? Like a lot of men overinvest in like the stupidest things because of this too. They overinvest in their work, right? They become workaholics because they think that that's what makes them a man. And then they're like on their deathbed, they're like, man, I wish I hadn't worked so much. I wish I had spent more time with my wife. I wish I hadn't spent, you know, so much time away from my kids. Yes, you overinvested in something that you thought was going to like bolster your masculinity when really it bolstered your loneliness. It bolstered, like it basically made you push away the things that are good for your mental health and invite in things that are only bad for your mental health, like being, you know, pressured and evaluated and walked all over, you know, by your boss who thinks that makes him a man. You know what I mean? It's turtles all the way up and turtles all the way down. Like it's like this hierarchy and they're trying to climb it. And then all of a sudden, boom, they're an old man. And it's like, oh,
that is such a good correlation. I never made that connection. The closer that they will ever feel what it's like to be a woman is when they get older.
Because it removes their masculinity privilege.
And it makes sense that that's the age range where they commit the most suicide. It makes perfect sense to me. And I never made that connection before, but that is spot on.
Yeah. I was also like asking earlier to like this, you know, group of men that I go to the gym with, why so many young men turn to alt-right podcasts and like red pill stuff or like republicanism and like what draws it to them. And it's what you kind of like were talking about, where it's this like stoicism, this, you know, show of like masculinity, this lack of like wanting to invest in the soft skills. And I just think about how it's like the blind leading the blind, because if they don't have like an older male role model that they can ask these questions to, that have, you know, given them real answers, where they're like, because like these older men are telling them like, well, it worked out for me, I don't know what's wrong with you, like you're fucked up, not me. And then they turn to these, you know, male role models that have their own podcasts and they have like maybe their own fame on YouTube, and they're given this sort of like platform that is equivalent to somebody who went to like Harvard, like where like it's like you should listen to them because they're just as smart as like somebody who actually graduated. And it'll be somebody like Charlie Kirk or like Tim Pool or like what's another one, Ben Shapiro. Although Ben Shapiro did actually graduate from college, but I digress. And so, you know, and so I think that also is contributing to like the male loneliness epidemic, because all of these men have in common is that they're not telling these men, you know, to, I guess, you know, grow the fuck up.
Be a better person.
Actually be a better person. Yeah. And like reinvest in these soft skills. Like as much as you're putting in towards, you know, getting that bag and like this grind and hustle culture, you need to also be putting in that work to like grow mentally and emotionally as a person. Like, cause like stoicism is like the closest thing that they can come to having their own form of strength because they don't look at, something like our emotional maturity as a strength, and like our ability to connect with other people is like,
they view it as weakness because it results in cooperation, and they're like, no, it should result in you dominating somebody. If something is working, that means you're dominating, and it's like, no, we can all work together. Like, oh my God, it's literally an unevolved mindset, because if you look at why our evolution works, it's literally because of cooperation. Like, we are not, and a lot of men want us to go backwards to, like, basically might makes right. And it's like, but it's not survival of the strongest. It is survival of the fittest, the fittest, right? And the fittest of us are succeeding, and those people are women.
Absolutely.
Buying more houses, more education, starting to out-earn men. Just in mental health markers, absolutely soaring over the men. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe there's something to it.
The male loneliness epidemic is a direct result of patriarchy and other men who put y'all men, if y'all are listening, in the situations that y'all are in. This is not a woman's problem. I always say how much I don't care, even though some years back I might have cared a little bit. I don't care anymore, because they don't want to do anything about themselves. They don't even want to acknowledge that they complain. You hear men on these podcasts especially will complain about all the systems in place and how it disadvantages them. And it's like, men are the ones who made these laws. Men are the one who said that you can't do that. Men are the one who made these, and they refuse to see it. And it's like, it's right in your face. But no, they can't accept that, because then they would have to admit everything that they were ever told about men and women was a lie. And that's their whole identity. Their whole identity would come crashing down. And I think that's the reason why they won't. And that's the reason why they're going to continue to be lonely. Because, what do you want us to do? We are learning the signs of a depressed man and watching the crime shows to see how we can figure out how to be safe to get away from you. Because if you're not going to want to grow and be a better person, I don't fucking want to be around you.
Especially while I don't have the rights to my own body.
Exactly. No. Especially not. Right? Oh, after that, it was a wrap.
Yeah,
for me,
a wrap.
It was a wrap for me after all.
When men didn't come out to protest us losing rights to our bodies, because I thought it was men that gave us our rights. So
absolutely.
Exactly. I guess I don't give a fuck about your rights either. If I could take more rights away from men, I would.
And this is all Mother Nature, in my opinion, moving things and orchestrating things in order to get things back in balance. And if that means
every action has a reaction. Absolutely. Yeah.
If that means a lot of men are just going to take themselves out the game, or they're either going to be better people or whatever that is, however that turns out, I don't give a fuck. Mother Nature doesn't give a fuck. Yeah. Mother Nature is just going to orchestrate things to get things back in balance, and whatever that looks like. And that's just the way I see it. The survival of the fittest.
Because the way that men want us to react to this is to once again pick up all the emotional labor, pick them up like a little baby, and baby them. That's what they want. They just want us to tell them, it's okay. I know here's that you don't feel, here's your binky, here's your porn, here's your free vagina. Right. Like, no, you're not going to get shit. We don't have rights to our own bodies, and y'all are making it worse. Like, it is absolutely crazy that we should also be tasked with dismantling the system that oppresses us at our expense and like gives men benefits at our expense. Like, everything comes back to it is at women's expense, and every day men just want more from us. Yep. Every single day it's like, yeah, but what about bottomless this and what about that? Yes, exactly. It's like, until you learn that it is your personal responsibility, we're all going to stay stuck here. And until we make our society women and children centered, men will never get out of the mental health hole. They never will. They will continue living in the hell that they continue to build for themselves. It's like you're adding logs to the hellfire that you're living in, because you keep insisting that society should be male centered. Okay, I guess we all ain't shit. Right. I guess we'll all suffer. I guess we will all just live in hell because you want to center it around you instead of rightfully centering it around women and children, more specifically Black women and Black children. okay, but okay.
It's always so interesting because also when you talk to men, they think that they're being left behind. Like there are these systems that are helping women and there are no systems helping men. And that's so interesting, right? Because it's like, well, why do you think that there's, no systems there to help men? Why do you think that there are systems in place to be able to prop women up and help them along their development? Because like we've only had these rights for what, maybe 25 years, where like some of our first in our generation to be able to have degrees and be able to have these careers that we have, these white collar jobs. Like we were some of the first. And that's so, oh gosh, like we really just live in two different realities.
We do.
And like as much as I wanted to like yell back at them and, like scream, like, just like give them shaken baby syndrome, like grab them by the shoulders and like, but it really, it's eye opening to me because like this is what, these lonely red pill podcasters are telling them too, that like you're being left behind because the system is only made for women to succeed and it's not made for men. Like the system is no longer in place to benefit men. That's all feminists' fault. It's all women's fault. And that's crazy. Anyways.
I feel like women or the female of any species, but women represent the natural flow of a river. And the men are stones and
the rocks
and sticks and boats swimming against the stream of the river. That's what they represent. If they were in their boat going with the flow of the river and not trying to fight against the natural flow of the river, they will be better off. But
no, for sure.
They just
don't think like that. They think going against the flow makes them more of a man,
masculine.
Makes their pee-pee bigger.
I gotta prove my worth. I'm gonna go against the flow. You're only hurting yourself and you're hurting the women around you and the children around you. But also too, the women who think that they can help men out of their mental mental loneliness or illness, you're just gonna get either beat up, like abused, or killed in your quest. Because the problem is that a lot of y'all are trying to help men that don't want to help themselves. They are not taking any steps. You're trying to force him to go to therapy. You're trying to force him to
you don't want to be saved, don't save him.
Absolutely. And they're not even willing to do the work for themselves. So naturally, you're going to just be collateral damage. And that's the reason why
it's going to happen at your expense.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the reason why I am so against trying to help men out of their mental health crisis. Been there, done that, would never do it again. You're only going to become collateral damage. And a lot of women, unfortunately, lose their lives because those men fighting demons, you're one of the demons in his mind that he has to fight. And he's going to take you out before he takes himself out. And so it's like, what's the point? Y'all have to, I think women need to, as much as you can, separate from the immediate threat because that's what it is.
100%. Ladies, that was a wonderful conversation. And unfortunately, we do have to end it. And I'm glad we're ending it on this note. What about women? That is the conclusion to our men's mental health discussion is what about women? What are y'all going to do about our rights and about our happiness and about our mental health? Maybe consider committing less violent crime. Maybe consider wearing, less cargo shorts. Maybe consider just being less of a insufferable
Stop wearing hats everywhere.
Yeah.
Stop breathing out your mouths.
Think about somebody else other than yourself for 1 second. That's my advice to the men affected by the mental health crisis. We love you. Bye.
Godspeed.
We got a mailbag to get to anyways. All right, ladies, time to dig into our mailbag, and we have kind of a long one today, so hang with us. We love it when y'all write in. Just please make sure you make it, as concise as possible, and we'll do our best to advise, but also keep in mind we're not like professionals. So take everything with a grain of salt. We're speaking from our own experience. You know what I mean? Don't take this as like God's words or anything like that. This is just input from other women. Okay. And people in the comments, please chime in too if you know of ways to help with this, because this one's kind of something I have a feeling a lot of us have experienced. So let's all listen together. Hi, Sovereign, Lisa, and Gwen. Thank you for doing everything you're doing to support people in building awareness of the world that we live in. I recently discovered your podcast and individual social media accounts, and the amount of knowledge I'm gaining has been invaluable to me. I really can't thank you all enough. That is so kind.
It is
Thank
very
you
kind.
so much.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
We really are just trying to educate people. So I'm glad that, I'm glad that it's being seen as helpful. I have been in a difficult work situation for the past 9 months that I would appreciate your advice on how to best handle moving forward. I have just handed in my 2 months notice today with my end date being the 25th of September. The team I work with seems to be the pure personification of patriarchy, and it has been soul-crushing and horrifying to be a part of. I am also the only person of color. I'm a 33-year-old Indian British woman who is well-educated, attractive, child-free, happily single, and ferociously independent. Oh, I know they hate you. I started this job in November 2024 working as a therapist in an eating disorder service. My mental health quickly went down the toilet. I began struggling with depression again and low self-esteem and have completely lost all sense of myself. After listening to you for the past few weeks, I've been able to piece together that despite the gaslighting from coworkers, the problem is very much them, not me. I work under 2 male consultant psychiatrists who are very red pill and give off revenge of the nerds vibes. Oh my God. I have had one of the consultants target me from the start, being very nice to me when I started, asking about my day, always checking in, going above and beyond to help me with my patients. Then he switched up, gaslighting me to believe that I was doing everything wrong, undermining me and implying that I was stupid in every interaction we had together and in team meetings. It's gotten so bad that I feel afraid to speak up in any meetings with him because I know he's going to make me his target practice. He's a married man with 2 young children, and I know that he has had a crush on me since I started. I will also admit that from how nice he was when I started, I did develop a crush on him too, despite this man really not being my type. He is short and objectively unattractive. Thankfully, I knew that he was married and did not act on these feelings, but I do feel very confused and as if I am recovering from an abusive relationship. What you are experiencing is an abusive relationship. Just FYI, I have seen enough. That's very fucked
Maybe
up.
even negging too.
Yeah, all abusive.
Ways of like just bringing your self-esteem down so that he thinks he can get
weird
more of a chance with you.
competitiveness.
Because he knows he's short, so he's got to lower you to his short ass level.
What's worse is that I work in a mostly female team. Oh my God, I was hoping you wouldn't say that. Full of 40 to 50-year-old pygmies who adore this man and do not see any harm in the sexist, ignorant shit that comes out of his mouth. So I feel very alone in seeing this abuse and poor behavior and not feeling safe to say or do anything about it. This man has openly called other women's names exotic in front of me and has tried to tell me what is and isn't racist as a middle-class, cis-hetero white man. It gets worse. Oh my God. Over the past couple of months, I've caught another male colleague staring at me in inappropriate ways. And because I feel so worn down by this team, when this happens, I generally shut down and walk away as fast as I can. I thought this man was gay when I first met him, only to find out that it is his partner's maternity leave that I am covering. This man is the epitome of a weak man, bitching about his partner to other female colleagues to garner attention from them while she's at home taking care of his child. I also found out today that he left his fiancée a month or so before their wedding. They have a daughter together to be with his female colleague and then got her pregnant. I knew when I met him that he is going to leave his current partner, and I fear that he is going to just keep doing this to women because he is broken inside and hates himself. Also, this man looks like a foot with a mustache. Whilst his partner is stunning, they remind me of the wizard Liz and Landon, physically and situationally too. With all of that being said, how do I proceed and survive my remaining 8 weeks in this hellhole? I feel a lot of shame that I have felt too exhausted and alone to stand up to these men and call them out. I feel ashamed that I haven't been able to protect future female colleagues of color who will work within this team. I don't know what to do and what version of myself to be anymore. I feel too deflated to clap back at them now because it feels too late, because I've said nothing this whole time. Do I try to educate this ignorant team and clap back at their inappropriate behavior? Or do I just play it safe, keep my head down, and focus on getting the fuck out of there? Thank you for taking the time to read through my concerns and for your support. Sending a lot of love and hugs from the UK.
Oh my God.
We love you. So sorry about that. We are sending you lots of love back. And keep in mind, we don't live in the UK, so I don't know legally what the ramifications are of any of these things.
Right.
So we're just giving advice on how to handle yourself attitude-wise and, just how to kind of, like you said, live out these remaining 8 or so weeks under this horrible environment. So ladies, chime in. What do you think?
So I was taking notes. First of all, don't feel ashamed because you can't control other people's actions and you sound like you're in an impossible situation. There's no reason for you to be ashamed. That's probably a defense mechanism where we are in a situation that's really not healthy for us. So we just automatically go towards self-protection mode. That's the word I was looking for. So that's normal. That's very, very normal to do that. That was probably your gut just telling you to just kind of, keep it low. I'm wondering, I don't know how it is in the UK legally. I'm wondering if you have enough evidence to file a lawsuit. I don't know. I don't know how it goes over there. It's like, possibly, or maybe you just want to get the hell out of there. I also want to know too, if this is a job that you would even want to put on your resume. Because I'm one of those people that have not put jobs on my resume because I knew for a fact that if a new job called, that they would legally, professionally try to mess it up for me because they were mad that I was leaving. That does happen. I don't know how it is over there, but so yeah, there's been times
that might be why you want to take legal action so that you can hold them to like a non-disclosure type thing. Like I know women who have had to do that.
Absolutely.
And I have helped them with that. But again, that was in the US. And so you would basically get a lawyer to write a statement of like, this is what legal actions we could take, and this is what we have seen, this is what we have evidence of, proof of, and then let them respond with either a settlement or like a conditions of non-disclosure, like they can only confirm the dates that you worked there. And, say that it was a mutual parting of ways or that you quit or whatever, like whatever details you want them to confirm. And then if they don't do that, and if you lose out on a job because of it or whatever, it gives you then grounds to sue them.
Absolutely.
So that is, I know you're kind of like tired. I know that gathering this evidence would be a pain in the ass. I know that calling lawyers about this, that's just more mental and emotional labor for you. And it might be necessary.
I agree. One more thing. When she made the comment about the guy who she thought was probably gay, but then she found out his partner was on maternity leave, don't gaslight yourself out of that. If you thought that, if that was your first initial thought, it's probably still true.
It's probably both. Two things can be true at once, okay? Yeah.
Don't ever think because a man has a wife. That's probably
why he's acting so hateful and trying to get as many women pregnant as
men can still be awful.
Absolutely. Yes. Don't ever
especially when they're in the closet.
That's what I'm saying. So don't ever think that because a man has a wife and kids or whatever that he's not on the down low.
Or that if he's gay, he's automatically exempt from misogyny.
Yeah, he's not.
Yes.
In many cases, it's a dead giveaway.
Both of those things.
Yeah, that doesn't mean anything. So yeah, don't gaslight yourself. And also don't confront them. It sounds like you're outnumbered. They will all most likely stick together to be against you.
Especially the pick-me women.
Yeah. So you're going to be outnumbered in that case. I just don't think that you should bother with that. If you're going to do anything about this at all, it would have to be, in my opinion, you can be working on it now and gathering evidence and maybe file a lawsuit later, or just remove yourself altogether from this situation.
When you're dealing with narcissists, the best way to go about it is to what's called gray rocking. Look that up and just it seems like that's what you're doing already. And it is the only defense mechanism that works against a narcissist. Like you're never going to beat them at their own game, which is gaslighting, making up false claims and statements, like trying to ruin your life, sending in, flying monkeys to attack you. All that kind of stuff. Like look up how to deal with narcissism and do that. But they're all going to tell you to gray rock until you can remove yourself from the situation. And the goal is ultimately anytime you're involved with a narcissist is to just remove yourself. And so it sounds like you've done that. It sounds like, but I just also want to say that this is why, like, you even having had this experience, I mean, notice how like much of the system it takes to not think that this behavior is weird. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a man being nice to you should not be so unusual and so exciting that you develop a crush on him. Like, no offense, like I get that it happens, but it's kind of like, you know what I mean?
And
like,
he's not even attractive.
Yeah, like I was kind of stuck on that part because I was like, man, like that's another part of things we don't really talk about is that, even when men are like transactionally nice to us as women, it still is like, kind of like what? Like kind of sexy, kind of attractive.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's like, oh my God, the bar is literally under hell.
She did say that she was having self-esteem issues. So like that.
Yeah. And I can understand that.
When you have self-esteem issues, I could see how, you know, when the bar is just that low that it, you know, I'm going to give sis a pass on that. So
yeah, because her brain went to survival mode.
Yes, of course. Yeah. And I'm not saying that as a knock.
Yeah.
On that. I'm just saying it's so unusual for men to be like, we don't even expect men in professional settings to be nice and helpful. Like, does that make sense? Yeah. Like the fact that he was kind of going out of his way, like he should have been doing that anyway. Like that he shouldn't have expected any kind of transactional, you know, benefits from that, because that's fucked up. You should just be nice to people without expecting anything. The hell's wrong with you?
Also, too, I don't want to make you paranoid, but I'm wondering, did it have to be 8 weeks? I've never heard of a 2-month notice before. Usually I hear 2 weeks.
That's like a UK thing.
Yeah, so I'm wondering, okay, so that makes sense if that's the case.
I was going to say, because you live in, first of all, you know, congratulations on putting in your 8 weeks and, you know, finally giving yourself the space to call it what it is and leave. I know that's got to be like a weight off your shoulders. So congrats. And I hope you're able to take some time to celebrate that for you. And second of all, I wanted to ask actually if the UK has the glass door so you can leave reviews on workplaces so that future people who want to, you know, inquire or like, you know, apply at these places, you can look on Glassdoor and see the reviews of people who have previously worked there and make comments on like maybe some of the work culture, like the toxicity. And so at least you have like a heads up. So I'm wondering if Glassdoor is an option for you to like leave a review probably long after you leave. So like I would set a reminder to do this like 3 months out, 4 months out. So that way they don't, you know, automatically suspect. Because if you do it, you know, before your 8 weeks is up, I think they would know who you were if you left that comment and if they read it. But anyways, if that's a way for you to do that, or Google a review, if at least you can leave like a Google review at these places. And I also wanted to ask, like, you know, how comfortable you were willing to go. I mean, how comfortable were you with the idea of like maybe going nuclear? So that's an option for you. Like if you are now, you know, wanting to build yourself up, and if you have the courage to, you know, like talk shit back or throw some shit back at them, like,
or like whenever they start saying weird shit, like get out a notepad and like start writing it down. Just be like, oh, I'm just writing it down. I just thought that was weird that you said that.
Just be like, I cannot believe like something like that came out of your mouth. It's like, I thought you were a doctor. Like that's really weird. Like, wow, what a weird thing to say. Or, you know, something like that. You can just be, you know, mild about it, or you could just be inflammatory. You can be like a crazy woman about it, like a Karen, or you can be an inconvenience to them. So you can be like a pebble in their shoe. You can work slowly. So if they ask you to, you know, print some things off for them, do it as slow as you possibly can, like walk slowly. Like, you know, you're just not as much of in a rush to like get things done there, you know? And,
like,
the
quiet quitting thing.
The quiet quitting thing,
Reclaim your space a bit. Reclaim your agency a bit.
Yeah.
Because
I would only recommend that if you don't plan on listing them on your resume as a previous employer.
Yeah,
because they will use that again. Oh, the last few weeks, they'll act like those last few weeks of you being slow and not coming to work on time, or, you know, just moving slow. They'll try to make it seem like the whole time you were there, that was the kind of time you were on. And, you know, so you just have to be careful if you're not planning on. But the Glassdoor idea, absolutely. And just if you do that, change little information. Like you say you were there for 9 months, say I was there for a year, or I was there for 6 months. So they can't piece together who you are. So just like, you know, if you go
throw
that
some
route.
wrenches in there.
Yeah, but also too, things could expect that things could get a little worse because people know that you're leaving. So just be careful with that. That's the only thing. But I agree with Gwen. If you know you're like, fuck this place, I'm not putting this place on my resume, no way, because I don't want anybody calling them. I'm saying this because I've done this. Like I've left jobs that
or just put like a friend's phone number instead,
or something.
Like still
that's what we do here.
Yeah, that's
literally
what we do.
Like we lie. Like nobody's resume is 100% truthful. I guarantee you. At least not in the United States, because like you can't prove this shit. Some of it
and stuff. Yeah, for sure. I went to
lie.
Harvard.
It's a lying contest. It's a popularity contest as much as it is a lying your ass off contest. The only thing you can't really fake is, you know, degrees and diplomas and certificates.
Some people still do that.
Sometimes they don't check.
Sometimes they still do that.
But sometimes people bank on the fact that they don't check.
Yeah.
And you can usually
get
tell
away with
those
it.
companies. Yes.
They
sometimes
absolutely get away with it.
So it just, especially if you're a white male, they usually don't even question it.
Right.
But as a woman, I always advise a little bit of caution. But I was going to say, if you want the mature route, I would listen to Sovereign and Lisa. But if you want, an unhinged kind of like
The petty route,
the petty route, you can, if that's available to you and you feel safe to do so, just be a pebble in their shoe, be an inconvenience, start clapping back, or find ways to psychologically mess with them. And there are ways you can do that. And I know that you can just, start looking up, on YouTube, ways of manipulating people and just fuck with them, turn them into a science experiment, entertain yourself, really.
Absolutely.
The short man just be like, hey, are you wearing different shoes today? You don't have lifts on today?
You don't look as tall as I thought.
Yeah, fuck with the short one. I think he's the easy pickings.
Did you get
or
a
even
haircut?
if they're bald,
you seem smaller. Yeah.
That's so funny. Oh my god.
Or also those women. Oh my gosh, there's so much you can do with them. I don't know if I want to say you could fuck with them because it's very anti-feminist of me.
I
but
was just
at the
gonna
same
say
time,
but you also might want to consider how doing that stuff is gonna make you feel on the inside.
I was just about to say that. I was finna say, you know what? Take Gwen's advice because that's actually gonna boost your self-esteem. It's gonna boost up your confidence to stick it to people. So let this
with no regrets.
Let this 8 weeks be your last little experiment.
Have fun with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you got to lose?
I'm so glad you said it's
fuck them.
This is gonna catapult you into the next phase of your life. So absolutely, yes, be petty. But still protect yourself.
Make sure they know that you're protecting yourself because workplace discrimination is real. And, depending on the laws, you can hopefully you can have some level of hey, if I have this documented or whatever, I can successfully sue you or I can successfully get you to settle and pay me money or
you will need a paper trail for some of this.
That's what I'm saying. That's why
it's not about if you're right. It's about what you can prove in a court of law.
Yeah.
So I was going to say, if you have some of this documented via email or group chats or Slack or whatever you have on those channels that workers use on their intranets, you can try that. And I was also going to say, what are y'all's legal routes in the UK regarding racial discrimination? Because a lot of that does sound kind of racial to me.
It does.
So especially the exclusionary girl gang shit, that sounds like classic racial profiling. Because when I worked with mostly white women at Ulta for a brief amount of time and they found out I was Asian, they felt so uncomfortable by that fact. They started just excluding me from things and having their little cliques and not even it didn't really bother me because I'm just y'all are weird and I knew they weren't gonna last long anyways because we're in Houston, being racist in Houston, it's just it has a way of humbling you. You will be humbled because we're a mixed city. We have people from all over the world here and they had their karma, but regardless, so it just reminds me of that cliquey feeling I had at Ulta when it came to women, and they would and even though they weren't older, they were are within the same age range as me. It was still it was weird.
That's how it is in California.
But that's the thing that they do. I don't know why. Anyways, and so if that's something that is documentable for you, I would definitely go through the proper channels in the UK to maybe get that documented, or at least have some protection for yourself for that, or maybe there's a settlement you can get in the United States, if you can prove that you were racially discriminated against, or if you were.
Yeah, because I was going to say, I've had a very similar experience as Gwen. And it's let me tell you, even as a white passing Eastern European woman, there are some people you'll never be white enough for. And I've been treated differently because of that. Being asked every single day at work when I'm going to have children, or being tasked with doing dishes and stuff like that in an office where I was supposed to be the office manager. So,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
This crazy girl asked me if we eat dogs. She really asked that of me. And I went straight to HR with that. I was oh, hell the fuck no. You did not. Wow. You did not. And so it was just weird. And I think she was really just trying to ask that earnestly. And it still was girl, why would you even this is work. Right. I'm not your friend. And even if I was your friend, that's not.
I don't care how earnest it is. Earnestly racist. Okay.
Yes, it was earnestly fucking racist. And and originally, whenever, and I could just sense the change of tone and attitude with them from when they thought I was 100% white versus when they learned that I wasn't. And it was just, night and day. And
yes. And sorry, we have to wrap this up. But the reason that we suggest, going to a lawyer rather than HR is because HR exists to protect the company.
Protects the company,
to protect the money, to protect the longevity. So the only thing that really works with these people is to get an outside counsel and just, like I said, just see what you can do. I mean, I don't know exactly how things work, but in the US, most consultations with a lawyer are free. Like you're just calling them, and a lot of them will take on your case for free, and then they'll just take a cut of the winnings. Mm-hmm. So, hopefully y'all have a similar setup. Again, sorry, we're not legal experts on all of that, but please look into it, call around, leave some messages at some law firms and get advice on them on how you should kind of proceed out these last few weeks. Like, should you be gathering evidence, or is this the kind of thing that's going to be too hard to prove and maybe I'll settle on a different route? But definitely, my biggest advice would be to call around for some legal advisement.
And be professionally petty.
Yes. And professionally gray rock and wherever you can, and then be petty.
I'm only saying professionally because
safely.
I advocate for nuclear options. Yeah. So because it's just, if any way you can get your lick back, I want you to get your lick back. I wish that for all women,
and
all women everywhere.
And not in a way that it's going to blow back on you, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Protect
but
yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we will see some of y'all in the crumpet segment that we're going to go record right now. We got to decide what it's going to be about. Before we go, let's read our poll from last week. So the question was, if we lived in a world where women's consent was always respected, what would feel most different in your daily life? And the options were, A, I would wear whatever I want without fear of being harassed. B, I'd go for a walk at night without feeling anxious. C, I would express my boundaries without being punished for it. And D, I would stop second-guessing myself in uncomfortable situations.
I would say B for me.
I would say B for me.
That sounds so peaceful. Imagine just being able to go walk outside and see the stars
and not have to
be so
anything.
Concerned about your environment and who's making sounds next to you and just keeping your guard up. Imagine if you could just let your guard down, because the most exhausting part about being a woman is just always having to have this constant vigilance. Yeah. And it's mentally taxing, and it's.
I know. Imagine you could put your headphones on at night.
Yes. Also that too.
Wow.
I see some women, putting their headphones on at the gym, and it's gosh, I wish I could, but I'm so paranoid that, that somebody's doing some shit behind me, and I can't hear it, or I can't sense it. It dulls my senses, and I want to be able to, I guess, anticipate for whatever, but that's just me.
Most gyms have mirrors on all four walls, or at least two of them. I'm always working out. Whenever I did used to I don't go to the gym no more, but whenever I did, it was always I'm always looking through the mirror behind me.
But you're hyper vigilant.
Yeah, but I always have my music on full blast. Yeah. Because the goal is to tune people out. I don't want to.
Yeah, and have men not assume. Because men will see a woman without headphones and be like, oh, she wants somebody to come talk to her.
Which is so fucking annoying.
Even with headphones on.
Oh, especially with the headphones.
If you don't automatically remove your headphones, if you don't automatically go this or something, they automatically
motion for you to do it. Yeah.
And I frown my face. I'd be like they're bothering me. I'd be like,
yeah.
What? Just take one off. What? Yeah, so they can get the hint. What the fuck? That's why this is the number one reason why I don't go to the gym anymore. That right there. It's
what about women,
annoying.
guys?
It's a fair point.
What about women?
What about women? I would have said A, but I always still wear what the fuck I want to wear. I always have. So
and good for you.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
I tried that a few times and I was like, nope, I can't. Yeah,
no, I am very.
And I live in a safe area, and it was still, yeah.
Yeah, I'm picky with where I go. If I'm going, and really, it is only for respectful reasons. So, for an example. I was going to wear this one dress that literally you could see everything, but I was going to my boyfriend's parents' house that day. So, you know what I'm saying? So in situations like that, that's the only time I would ever not wear something. But if it was just me and him, it's I don't give a damn.
Do you think, maybe that's something we could talk about in Crumpets, do you think gym wear has gone too far? I gotta say, I somewhat agree with the men on this one point where it's like gym wear has gone too far. Like I've seen girls come with like, just a tube top to like come lift weights or something, and like these really itty bitty.
That will be a good crumpet segment because I strongly disagree.
I do too.
but we'll get into it during crumpets. Let me just say that the Spotify poll agrees with y'all's answer, the walk at night freely, and the poll that we did in our Patreon, the most popular answer was I would stop second guessing myself in uncomfortable situation if women's consent was always respected. I do think that's a big one because women second guess themselves so much because we're gaslit so much. But yes, all right. So for our TVIPs, we will see you in crumpets, where we are going to talk about whether gym wear has gone too far and to what extent should we be mindful of that. We will see you there. And for the rest of y'all, we will see you next week.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us.
Bye.